Hi, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Our devotion for today, June 18th, is from the Gospel of Luke, the 18th chapter, verses 9 through 14. Verse 9, he also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and treated others with contempt. You see how Luke already explains what's coming? Two men went up into the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. Now, this should get everyone's attention since Jesus was speaking to a group that had Pharisees in it, and probably maybe a tax collector or two. Two men go up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. And a reminder, tax collectors were completely despised in the Jewish culture. They were viewed as traitors, Jews who worked for the Romans. Verse 11 and following, the Pharisee, standing by himself, prayed thus, God, I thank you that I am not like other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week, I give tithes of all that I get. So the Pharisee is filled with his own self-righteousness as he stands before God in the temple and prays. His prayer is all about how glad he is that he's better than other men, including the tax collector who's praying in the temple as well. This is a trap that many of us might fall into, thinking that we're better than others. We sit in judgment of others and see all their sins while we picture ourselves painted with every single excuse and every justification we can so that our sins are minimized in our own minds, or we decide they weren't even sins at all. So we condemn others while absolving ourselves. This is a haughty and self-righteous behavior that is not at all the truth. This Pharisee believes he stands in a better relationship with God over most others, including the tax collector in the temple. He is expecting God to forgive him of his minor transgressions because of who he is and what he does. He believes he's much closer to God than the tax collector and most other men. Verse 13, but the tax collector, standing far off, would not even lift up his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. The tax collector, on the other hand, recognizes his own sinfulness, and he knows that he is undeserving of God's forgiveness. His prayer to God is that God might have mercy and grace upon him, for he is nothing more than an undeserving sinner. Verse 14, I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the Pharisee. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and the one who humbles himself will be exalted. You see, Jesus ends his parable with a surprise comment, a twist. The tax collector went back home justified by God, not the Pharisee, because the tax collector humbled himself before God. The Pharisee did not. He exalted himself. We too must remember to be humble before God, for we are sinners. Just like the Pharisee was a sinner and just like the tax collector was a sinner. We seek God's mercy and grace, but we don't deserve either. So we should be careful not to assume that we are something that we are not. That is, closer to God because of our own merits and works than other people. It is only by God's grace and mercy that we have any hope in salvation. Go in peace, serve the Lord.